this is my co-host, Levi Rowland. Welcome to our weekly podcast, Covendom. It is Season 2, Episode 10. Tonight, I'm up with a list of things that we're going to throw at each other, and then we will say whether we love it, we hate it, and explain why. So anything could come up. So please ask questions about any of our answers or anything related to the subject of witchcraft, and we'll be more than happy to answer those questions.
No, we won't.
If you would like to call in, the number is 504-321-3472. The number is 504-321-3472. Call now. The first minute is free.
It's all free. Everything's free.
No one ever calls in, ever.
It's fine.
So we don't even know if the phone works because no one ever calls. But please do ask questions. We'd love to chat with you. It would make the show more interesting. We used to be able to do video calls. In fact, hello, Brian is the only one who ever called in on the video.
It's true.
And it was a fun episode. We had some problems, I think, with the internet that day, but it was fun to have that. When we get into Season 3, we might be looking at doing video guests. I don't know, because I don't think this program does that. I'm not sure.
It might. It does. I don't know.
So we're not going to do show and tell today because, well, we got sick of that game.
That's true.
Levi doesn't play anyway.
I never brought anything.
So
I was a bad person.
We're just going to do kind of updates, and we've got ideas for the last 2 episodes, and then we want to sort of think about what we want to do with this Season 3, or if I want to get a new co-host or something.
I said interpretive dance, but it got shot down. Got shot down.
No, I couldn't get rid of Levi now, could I? So anyway, it'll be death and taxes for Levi.
It'll be death and taxes and Levi. I'll be here with the roaches.
So tonight for my show, I thought, my idea of the show, since we don't know where it's going to go, is I think that people, one of the things that is unique about our show is that it's just usually you and me.
Yes.
It's just us. We don't have guests.
Because we're very important.
Most of these blog talk shows or whatever are interviewing people, and they're fun. It's great. I used to manage the blog talk show that Christian did with, God, I don't even remember who his co-host was originally now.
You're doing great.
But he's had a lot of co-hosts, and I ended up becoming one of them. But it was really hard to manage the guests. These authors and witchcraft people can be very problematic to nail them down and show up on a show. It was very annoying.
We wouldn't know anything about that.
So I started getting sick of doing it, and so we quit doing it. So I didn't want to do that for this show because I didn't want to deal with, can you do the show? What time? The good news is we've got a regular schedule, so it would literally be like, here's the dates available. Can you show up? And then of course you've always got those cancellations. That happens a lot, where people won't show up.
And you have to do something on the fly.
So I just honestly thought we were more interesting than most people. So, and I think I've been right so far. But
humble. It's humility is part of craft, people. It's important.
Anyway, so I'm just curious to pick Levi's brain about what's going on there. So
you don't ever want to pick my brain.
I suppose
that of horror.
We should just do one question at a time or one thing at a time.
Yeah, I thought we'd go back and forth.
Yes. So,
but I did bring cards.
Oh yes, do your card first. These look Asian. What are they?
They're not Asian. That's wow. What? This is the Golden Tarot of Klimt.
Well, that looked like Asian art on the.
It's a very popular deck if you like Klimt's art, and it's one of those.
The China virus.
What is happening right now? It's one of those gilded decks where you've got gold leaf on all of them. So
show them the back side. They could see why I thought my book looked like it was.
God,
Asian.
it doesn't. People, it's a famous. It's literally Gustav Klimt.
Oh, whatever.
It's wow.
Looked like the China virus.
Welcome to a very cultured episode of Covendom.
I'm silly today. Sorry.
Okay.
All right.
Give it a cut. Or a knock. It's fine. Today's card. Ooh, the 3 of Swords. So cheaters, a pierced heart, often read as a card of adultery.
You might upset some apple carts today.
It's true. Also, maybe it means you need to fanatically go through your partner's Facebook Messenger and or Instagram account. You're welcome. Your worst suspicions are true.
It's horrible.
Nobody loves you. I'm kidding.
Everyone watching this is being cheated on.
Everyone is awful.
All being cheated on.
Okay. So you want us to go ahead and just jump right in with what we love and hate?
Let's start with it. So
you go first.
You want me to go first?
Yeah, you go first. Give me one.
Don't look at my list.
I'm not going to look. I'm brave. It's not a brave. I don't know.
Chakras in use in witchcraft.
Ooh, okay. If this is, I like that we started
start
here.
with love or hate before you explain anything. You got to pick one.
I can't go in the middle.
No, that's cheating.
Well, then you're not gonna, I don't know if you'll like my answer. Love.
Love, okay. Explain.
If you'd asked me this question like 3-4 years ago, I would have said hate, like hate with all my
Fluffy
core.
bunny.
Exactly. Like I would have said it was new agey. I would have said that it's, mixing traditions or whatever. But I think it is undeniable that there is a connection between certain points in the body and ritual. And I think that, it's true, like, that you can come from a certain place physically. That's not the same system as the full chakra system used in Tantra or whatever, where you're raising the Kundalini or whatever. But I actually kind of like it. I do. I think that...
Should we have back and forth commentary?
We should. We can't be boring.
I hate it.
I know you hate it. It's
not
fine.
Craft.
It's not craft.
I agree with everything he's saying. It's just that we have our own places of power.
But that's kind of what
we
I mean.
We have our own God.
It's hateful, but that's what I mean.
Yes.
Like, I agree with it, but I wouldn't...
I don't think it's witchcraft.
I would not want somebody to come into the circle and be like, and use the actual like Sanskrit
But I think it's real.
names. Same. Yeah. But I wouldn't want them to use the exact Sanskrit names. Yeah. I'd want to work it the way we work it. Like, yes, Lida Diana's mentioning the middle pillar. So like, very similar.
I like the middle pillar more, but it's all the same idea, sort of.
Yeah, that there are certain regions of the body. And there are certain ones that are really found across cultures, like the throat, because, obviously the voice box where we speak from, the heart,
Cinelize is my
kind of Ronaldo's son. Like, it's a no for me. Fine.
He's my real son. Go.
I'm adopted. I'm adopted.
Anyway, your turn.
Okay. Past life regression.
I love it. I suppose I have never done it. So I love the idea of it.
Certain fetishes.
I believe in reincarnation. I think it's something worth exploring. There was an initiate that I was working with very briefly before she died, and she was actually someone who used to do that. And so I was really excited to give it a shot. I'd like to explore it. So I love the idea of it because I believe in past lives.
Yeah. Okay.
But I've never actually done it. I think it has a dangerous side. Obviously, it could be
same.
fantasy. Yeah.
I believe in rebirth very much so. I think it's a central tenet, actually, of contemporary, the revival of witchcraft. But I don't like the concept of regressions because I'm always like, what would you do with it? Like, why does it matter? You know what I mean? And I think that I have this...
You'd realize you were happy once, Levi.
That's true. At one point in some universe within the multiverse.
You'd totally be Jewish.
A rare one.
Or some rabbi or something.
I would be a rabbi, yeah. I'm too much in love with the people. But no, I think if you read a lot of the text from like the Dharmic religions in the East, they're very like not into this. They're like, they believe in rebirth with, obviously it's like a core of their belief system, but they're like, it won't help you to know. Like, no matter what, you still have to live this life. Like, and I also think that time doesn't matter beyond death. So this linear concept of one life right after the other doesn't really make any sense if you're existing in a place beyond time and space. So in a weird sort of way, I think they're all happening at once. So like, instead of saying I was a pauper in France, no, you are one right now. You know what I mean? Like there is no concept of before and after death. So I don't think it's linear.
Levi's on drugs.
I went a little weird with it. I'm sorry. It's your turn.
Is it my turn?
I said past life regression. You said chakras. I love how we're all starting with the new age.
True.
Okay. That's rough.
This is a fun game.
You're going to get me in trouble.
You got to love or hate it.
I can't go down the middle.
No, that would be cheating.
Hate.
People
I'm so sorry, people. Oh my God. Because I literally just taught a class on the runes recently. But I love runes. But also true as an organized religion. No, I'm sorry. It's in the hate column. And it's simply because for a couple of reasons. One of them is it's not the majority. I'm totally aware of that. Save your emails. I'm aware. But there is a huge chunk, way too big of a chunk of racism in organized, also true religion that's popped up too many times to make me uncomfortable. And also, I don't know, there's just... This is one of those things where like if a culture doesn't speak to you, if like a series of teachings doesn't speak to you, you can't make it speak to you. And I just find it mind-numbing. I'm sorry. The sort of super butch, masculine, I don't know. It just doesn't speak to me. But I'm sorry. I know it's wonderful and there's lots of good people in it, but it's a hate.
Well, I'm not as judgmental as Levi. But,
see, I knew he would do this because I know his real beliefs, but he's going to come out here and just be like, all of the beautiful people. Mm-hmm.
No, I hate it too. In fact, in some of our literature, they call the gods of the Norse mindless gods. I think that's because they're so separated from the mysteries is what it's referring to. I'm I am part Swedish and part Scandinavian. You know, I'm part Finland and part Sweden, mostly Swedish. So I've got Viking DNA, as a lot of people in Western Europe do. But it doesn't resonate with me as a culture. It is a culture that obviously had a lot of practices and beliefs that we don't know about. A lot's lost. You know, we've got the sagas and we've got, you know, certain information, of course, and it certainly did impact Britain on some level. But I really just don't resonate with it because it's if you were going to pick like a human version of Klingons, it would be the Vikings, right?
It's true. It's very warrior-based.
That's just not something that resonates with me. However, Asatru is often linked to racism, unfortunately. And we know this doesn't speak to everyone who practices Norse beliefs or who ascribes to that. But because it does occur so much, I think it's because it's another example of something trying to be an ancestral faith. This is in my blood. And so it often, you know, being white combines with racism.
Yep,
you know?
it gets weird.
Nazi Germany was kind of into it, actually. So it's just not my thing. So I'd have to say hate it because I just don't care much for it. That doesn't mean I dislike all the Norse gods.
Hey, Karen. This would be. Karen's mentioning that they actually were based on the Klingons, the Viking culture. That's true. I was also going to add to what Brian was saying is like, in a lot of ways, the first people to show up on the scene in any situation get to help define what the situation is. That's just a fact of life. And so, like, for example, it's why British traditional witchcraft is so massively influential on people who...
Someone ask you a question.
Not yet. Who's identify now as Wiccan or pagan or whatever. It's because we were the first ones on the scene that were so large and public. The thing with Asatru is one of the first groups on the scene were the Wotanists and the Odinists in France and England and Germany and whatever, and they were patently racist. So even though people have evolved beyond that, and not everybody's part of that, they were the first ones, and it's had a lasting sort of like sting on the religion. So it's hard to get away from it.
And there are a lot of Aryan nations and Nazis today who practice that.
They do. Like I would
still going on.
There's just something about it that sometimes I'm a little like. So I have to ask you one now, right? Okay. Crystal magic.
Crystal magic.
See, it's tricky because
I have to go with hate, but let me tell you why. So the reason I think I hate it is because of obviously the aesthetic and the new age connotation that goes along with it. You know, if I was going to work crystal magic, it would be in the form of very expensive jewelry. I love diamonds and rubies.
That's crystal magic, people.
And, you know, I do think that they have a place in folklore and magic and they're instruments of light. So it's not that I don't believe that they can be used. They're a part of the earth. Salt is a crystal. It's the only crystal you eat. So it's not that I don't believe in crystal magic. I think I have to say hate because of the aesthetic that goes, you know, we all know sage, crystals, you know, you've got that altar, but who doesn't like the beauty of a crystal? Do I really use it in my magic very often? Not so much. However, I do have a crystal that's very special to me, that has a bit of a potency to it, and obviously I mostly use it in jewelry nowadays. But I have crystals. I've got piles of crystals. I think they're just aesthetics.
To me, when somebody says crystal magic, though, I just think we're talking about different things. Like, the modern use of crystals is something I don't do. But if you're talking about like crystal ball scrying, which is very ancient, sure, love that. Or if you're talking about using stones in planetary magic that are associated with the planets or the angels, yeah, I do that too. Or
making your man prove that he loves you.
Okay, wow.
That's magic.
You okay? You okay? Everything all right? I need jewelry. Give me diamonds, rubies, garnets. But no, they are beautiful. Okay, I asked you crystal magic.
Social justice politics in magical communities.
You're just mean now. Now you're just being mean. Now you're just being hateful.
Like, I thought of ways to set you up. You didn't even try, did you?
You did. I didn't. I was just like, oh, a fun show where I can ask your opinion on things. And you're like, let me make this awkward.
My goal is to get him to go on a tangent, you know.
Yeah, because I get on a box every now and then, and it's a weird box. What was the question?
Social justice politics in magical communities.
I hate it. I don't think... and the reason why, there's a very simple reason, is because it becomes a game of who can... It becomes a game of like sainthood. and, you know, cancel culture and all these other things develop where we get to this point where, you have to be perfect. So we just talked about crystal healing. I have witches who yell at me because they think I've said something that's, you know, inappropriate in a social justice context, but they're using crystals that come from a mine slaved by children in South America that are unethically sourced. And their sage is unethically sourced because you shouldn't be using it to begin with. It's hard to find. Same thing with Palo Santo and dragon's blood and a lot of other things that these people are burning like crazy. So they're not even ecologically conscious. And so it just becomes a game of back and forth of basically trying to out people or smear people or make them feel bad or whatever. And I think cancel culture is dangerous. And you know, I would recommend you look up a video on YouTube by a YouTuber named ContraPoints.
I love that. I've got somebody I want to say it to.
Yeah, she's a trans woman who does amazing videos, and she does one on cancel culture that I highly recommend you look up. But it explains a lot of what I believe about this. But so that's why I don't like it in craft, because I think it turns it into a circus.
I don't think it really exists in real craft very much. I think it's more of on social media and sort of the pagan groups. I don't think Gardnerians and Alexandrians in their private cloisters are sitting there debating about social politics. In fact, most covens traditionally avoid politics altogether. You don't discuss your affiliation. That was actually a rule of Alexander's. Is that
it's like the Masons.
Politics didn't come up. In the age of Trump, I have to finally disagree because things have gone so far now. And I think that you have to be a little bit more political because the situation is so extreme. But normally speaking, I would avoid it altogether. You know, I've got no issue with Republicans or Democrats. You know, I don't really, because I'm a monarchist, really. So
Jesus,
it's true. Social justice politics, you know, it's kind of like cultural appropriation. It comes from a good place, but I think the people that latched onto it and make it like their whole thing are often horrible people. You know, most of the people who like go on these holy crusades online are horrible people. Like if you look at their lives and how they're treating people, they will go from one person to the next, one witchcraft author, one witchcraft leader, one person to the next, finding something wrong with them and making some sort of campaign. They're horrible people. I don't want anything to do with them. And so it's being misused, I think.
But I agree. Like it's gone too far now. Like
so
for
I hate
example,
it as well.
Yeah, I hate it too. But if we're talking about like cancel culture and stuff. If you're talking about like moral questions, like Alan made a good point. The difference between a political difference and a moral difference is very important.
Yes.
So like if you hate the earth, if you hate women, if you are rabidly anti-choice or whatever, I don't want you in my circle. Mm-hmm. And I do think you're violating something about the craft because we've moved past politics now and we've moved into something moral, something spiritual, something religious. So do I want that in craft? That sort of moral compass of the teachings we have? Absolutely. I just don't want it to become a political circus.
No. It normally doesn't have a place, but yes, I agree exactly with what Alan is saying, Mr. Jackson, if you're nasty. It is a moral issue now. It'd be like if Hitler was taking over. You know, eventually you have to realize that it's bigger than just politics, and I agree with him 100%. I think it's your turn.
Yes, it is my turn to ask something.
Let me see if we have any questions after that.
I had one I could almost kind of trip you up with, but I'm not going to.
Trip me up.
A goth aesthetic in witchcraft.
I hate it, you know, because I don't really actually like, you know, in witchcraft is what he's saying. I definitely, obviously, love the goth aesthetic, but any aesthetic in witchcraft annoys me. You know, for instance, Christian and I obviously do sometimes dress to the nines. It's very much part of Cabot culture and Halloween there. We actually like that clothing.
Yeah, you're not doing it for...
and I was actually gothic when I was younger with Miss Karen. She can verify. We were little goth babies. So I love that look, but it doesn't have anything to do with witchcraft. So obviously there is a bit of walking the dog when it comes to Salem. And, you know, when you're there for Halloween, you are doing some of that for the, the fans and the tourists, you know. If I was just in a suit and tie walking down Essex Street saying, I'm a witch, that's not really very fun.
I love Karen, just has in big letters, pleather.
I was a pleather queen. And it wasn't all pleather. I had real leather too. But yes, we were real. I was into vinyl. I had like everything vinyl, like lots of vinyl.
I didn't. Okay, wow.
It was in then. Yes,
it was the 90s.
It was. I loved me some vinyl pants.
I was 12 when the 90s were over.
Yeah. I was not.
I love the goth aesthetic. I'm sorry. I know it's
I
bad.
love it, but I don't love it in witchcraft.
I know,
So that's my
but
opinion.
I do actually feel a little bit more connected to the term witch if I stand out in a crowd, and I know that's
Do you know
horrible.
what's funny?
I know it's horrible.
The blonde girl from the Munsters.
Lily.
He was originally Lily when we first met him. He wore pink and he complained about everyone else wearing black. And now look at him. Snake skin and everything.
I literally only wear black.
Changed.
I've changed a lot. I only wear black.
You used to complain about black.
This is me wearing color, guys.
Funny, yeah.
This is me wearing color. And I'm a teacher outside of this. And the kids, it was so funny. I was an ESL teacher, so I pull kids out of classrooms. And I literally looked like the Grim Reaper because I would show up all in black and just point to 3 children and then would follow me out of the room. I literally was like a storybook witch. They used to joke about it all the time. And my kids mostly speak Spanish and they all called me Brujito, the witch, the little witch. But yeah, I wear all black now. I don't know what happened. My soul left me.
I know what happened.
What happened?
Witchcraft.
Witchcraft happened, and I was just like, I live with the dark goddess now. You can all just accept this or move on.
Do we have any questions?
Somebody had one earlier. Let me see what it was like. Chiropractors.
That's not a question.
Is it how do you feel about the world of chiropractors moving into the Wiccan world?
First of all, I hate the word Wiccan. So
I know.
We'll start
I knew
there.
you were going to have a problem.
We'll start there. I don't think it has anything to do with anything.
No,
So
I don't
I
either.
suppose you could be a healer, a magical or spiritual healer, and incorporate that science in there. Sure. I don't see why not. It is an Asian science, very effective for certain people. So I don't know if it would cross over with a European thing. They probably do.
No, chiropractic is Western.
Oh, I thought
Acupuncture is what you're thinking
Oh,
of.
sorry.
No, chiropractic
Why did
is
I go
Western.
there in my mind?
I knew what you meant.
I totally did.
I know.
Oh,
I was like,
goodness.
I was like,
Talk
when did
about-
chiropractor was invented by Dr. Palmer? Like,
He's like, he must be stopped. I was literally picturing the little needles. Don't know what happened to my brain there. Had a long night last night. It definitely, just like massage, it could be incorporated into some sort of spiritual practice, but it alone, I don't really feel anything about it. I don't think it is, first of all. I don't think chiropractors really are moving into the realms of Wiccans, whatever that
word,
means.
can we not? We don't need to get on this hill today.
Yes, I won't do it because I just do it all the time.
This is the best question ever. Jeremy says, what about fanny packs while you're skyclad?
I hate fanny packs.
I hate it
so much. I've always hated fanny packs. Fanny packs belong to the Karens of the world. Sorry, Karen. It's a thing now. I'm sorry for you, but it is a thing. Karens with 2 R's. She's so not a Karen.
Karen,
either.
she's not at all.
No, her name's Karen, but she's not one of those Karens. We'll just call her Miss Sayer from now on.
Elohim has a good one.
But I hate fanny packs and those weird dads that no.
Fanny pack dads. I like Elohim's. What about participation of children in ritual?
In our rituals, absolutely not possible.
Same. Not possible.
In fact, no, non-initiate could be in our rituals. So therefore, a child couldn't be an initiate. We don't initiate people unless they're 18 or 21 or 25, depending on where you're going. I'm now leaning towards 25 because my experience with younger initiates is that they are ill-prepared to meet the commitments, and I don't want to deal with it anymore. So cancelled. So I'm probably not going to initiate anyone who's, Christine and I feel the way that for our coven, probably not under the age of 25 anymore. Doesn't mean I couldn't change my mind, but I'd have to be extremely impressed because I've been fooled before. But children in rituals that are geared towards children, I don't see any problem with that. I wouldn't have a problem with kids being at a maypole, or some sort of thing like that.
Like a dance or a public meeting.
I don't think that it's wrong to expose children to the outer fringes of the craft, but we're talking about a priesthood, that children don't have a place in it, especially with all the nudity and sex and all that.
Yeah, it's just inappropriate. Witchcraft is a very sensual religion. It's a fertility religion. I don't, the way we practice
cult,
it.
A magical religion,
So,
a mystery cult.
No.
Not a daycare.
No. Who asked the last question between us?
I think it was
me.
I don't know. Maybe.
You go. You have a list.
I have a list. Mm-hmm. Aleister Crowley.
Love.
Mr. Crowley.
Mr. Crowley. I love Crowley.
I still say Crowley.
I have
It's a
deep
Western
issues.
thing.
I have deep issues with lots, certain things he said or certain things he did. But I still cannot. I think people hate him a lot, and I think it's just not possible to appreciate the modern occult revival without taking him into consideration on some level. Like, I think he was massively influential, for better or worse, whether you like his work or not. He was influential, period. His works seep into everything. And that's not to say he was the groundswell of it. He stole a lot of that stuff too, or recreated it or rewrote it. But Crowley is massively influential, and his poetry is beautiful. I mean, his Hymn to Pan is one of my favorite liturgy pieces. His Liber Capricorni is incredible. The Gnostic Mass is beautiful.
The Bornless Ritual.
Yes, and what about the great one where it's like, oh, veiled and voluptuous and purple? It's just beautiful. I mean,
that's from the Gnostic Mass.
Yes, it's from the Gnostic. I love the liturgy of the Gnostic Mass. I love their creed. So no, I love Crowley. I do.
I'd have to say I love Crowley too, but it's kind of problematic because I could almost say hate. First of all, most of what he originally learned was from the Golden Dawn. And then people don't realize that the OTO actually functioned before he was involved as well.
Yeah.
So he was an initiate of Masonry and at least 2 magical orders. So he was an initiate. He didn't start out in charge. He had conflict in the Golden Dawn. He usurped and took over the OTO, so that ended the conflict because he was in charge. I do think he was a brilliant occultist, obviously, and I agree with Levi. I love his poetry. And anyone who can write poetry like that stirs the imagination is a magician. Mm-hmm. And I'm a big believer in poetry, in the craft, and in magical orders. He was an initiate. He certainly has his influence on modern witchcraft, yep. Whether or not you buy into the modern myth that he was once involved or not. OTO is certainly somewhere between witchcraft and the Golden Dawn nowadays, isn't it? So I think that he's brilliant, but I think he's also highly overrated, because the biggest lesson that Crowley could teach us is how things go wrong. He did start increasingly going down darker paths, working with goetic demons, becoming darker, getting more into the devil, and part of this may have been sensationalism.
Sure.
But we must remember he didn't end well. He ended a pauper, he was a heroin addict. When you try to steal fire from heaven, when you try to become your higher guardian angel, there are pitfalls to this, and I think that the illusion of ego. I still say that that's one of the most dangerous demons that you summon in the realms of magic. They are supposed to be something you're striving to. In truth, you're contacting all the negative aspects of yourself, yep. And the illusion, the mirror of illusion manifests, and you succumb to it. People succumb to it. It is a real thing. You learn about it in any magical practice, that you need to bust the ego, that you must conquer your ego. And mm-hmm, people who can't do that, and if they get too powerful and they can't do it, it does destroy them every single time. And he's simply another example of that. And I think it's the biggest lesson he can teach anyone on the magical path.
Agreed.
Not his poem to Pan. But that's not what people would like to say about him. They like to say he's a genius and he's misunderstood and all that.
Yeah.
Might be true, but I don't know very many heroin addicts that people admire so much outside of rock and roll, right?
That's true. So a lot of people have been asking questions. And what I'm going to do, because of our show, if you don't mind, is I'm going to turn them into what we're doing, which is condense your question down into something Brian can say he loves or hates, or I can say I love or hate. That way we can keep up the game. So in League with the Witchcraft, I'm going to shrink yours down to patron and matron goddesses and becoming a priestess of a specific god you feel called by. Love or hate.
Funny enough, I had that question for you. So it's coming up anyway.
Yeah.
I absolutely think it's an act of narcissism, because here's the thing. It's become kind of a trend. I don't think it's wrong for you to select particular archetype or god or goddess that you want to devote yourself to. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I don't think that's wrong. However, I think it kind of goes into what we were saying last week. For some people, it becomes like collecting action figures.
Yes.
And calling yourself a priest or a priestess of something does not make you a priest or a priestess of something. People who are like, oh, I'm a priest of Bast because I've decided to worship Bast. You're not a priest or a priestess of anything unless you are in a priesthood. I certainly draw the line to the fact that historically there's no such thing as a, solitary priesthood. It's not something that you get to just be your own thing.
No, it was always for a culture of people.
Especially not in pre-Christian cultures. So there were certainly in ancient pagan times priests or priestesses consecrated to specific deities or places, but that's not what people are doing. They're like, I'm a priestess of Marie Laveau. No, you're not.
No, you're not. Look at him just being mean.
I think devotee is a better word. So I get really irritated that, especially when you have these people who are like, I'm a high priestess. You're like, you're not even in a coven.
I know.
Sorry, it annoys me. So definitely hate. However, I do talk about it even in my book. I think it's okay for you to devote yourself to something. Doesn't make you a priest or a priestess of it.
Yeah.
And I think it's gone too far for many individuals. There was this horrible creature that used to live in New Orleans, and he had altars all over his house. I mean, we've got lots of altars, but I mean, it was obnoxious. And, it became like his whole religion was about not really like serving anything, because he served so many things. I think it starts to become a bit problematic. If you have a patron god or goddess, why do you need to tell people? It doesn't make you special. I think it's reserved for private conversations.
I do too.
I don't think it should be a public thing.
I also think it's less esoteric than what we're doing. Yeah. I think modern
But I think it's okay to have.
It's great
if you're drawn to it. But
I have a few.
When it becomes like my patron deity is Shiva, it's like, why are you saying that?
And you're not even Hindu. Yeah, I mean. And my thing,
I find it annoying.
My thing with it is also, like I said, we're an esoteric religion, guys. So like, we're not here. Like, I don't believe the gods work that way. I don't think there's isolate intelligences in the universe that are poking me in the head at night to get me to do things for them.
Or people who say, Hecate's talking to me.
Yeah, they came to me, and it's like, well, aren't you special? Instead of saying that the gods are reflections of a divine monad or whatever, like a more esoteric answer. That's just where I land.
Personal experience only belongs to the personal. It's
exactly.
Not that we don't believe it happens.
It doesn't translate well into functional religion, is what I think Brian's saying. And I agree with him completely. If we as a coven came together and we basically just all sat around and talked about our personal experiences, no work would get done. No. There's no development in
and
that.
a lot of eyes would be cocked.
Exactly.
Because we are skeptical, because we're intelligent people.
So there's no development in that. There's nowhere to go with it. No. It's basically like there's just nowhere to go with it.
Unless we have an experience together, it's not relevant.
It's not our language.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take another one from Rodriguez Mystic. I'll take this one. How do you feel about the emphasis? Nope. I'm going to condense it. Shadow work. The term shadow work. I hate it. I get it. I get it from the Jungian psychoanalytical position. I understand what people mean by it: undoing your trauma, undoing your negative aspects, focusing on the parts of yourself that are difficult and shaped by trauma or whatever. I think it has almost become an almost neurotic obsession in particularly millennial witchcraft, my generation. This almost obsessive need to define oneself by one's traumas, I think is dangerous. And I don't think it actually is stemming from any healthy form of psychotherapy or psychology. I think most forms of behavioral therapy nowadays would be a lot more interested on focusing on creating better habits, rewiring your brain, to undo triggers and things like that. Like, I think that's the actual real work of an initiate or of someone who's on a path to psychological wholeness. And I think this obsession with shadow work is a way to sort of embrace a almost narcissistic nihilism that I don't think is very healthy nowadays.
So I'm going to totally mess this up, but the curse. Make his wife to leave him, make him to starve, make his dogs get fleas, make his camels lame. The sage beneath the peepal tree said, why not just wish him an ordinary life?
Even worse, right?
Shadow work, my friend, is life. You don't need to invoke it. It'll do its job for you. The world is very cruel.
I know, right?
Live your life. Get your heart broken. Hate your job. Sometimes hate your partner. Fall out with your friends. Feel bad. Deal with childhood trauma. It's all there. Shadow work was probably your childhood. I think that people use shadow work as a way of sort of trying to be like, I am not just all white light.
Yes.
I embrace my darkness, my dark qualities. Sometimes I also think that's just a lame excuse to give yourself a permission to be an awful person.
It's a position. It is permission to be a narcissist.
Yes.
I can't today because I'm dealing with.
It has nothing to do with real witchcraft. We've got phrases like the shadow self, but doesn't mean anything like that.
No.
But I think practical real life is real shadow work, because it's not always easy, is it?
Agreed. Yeah. So Elohim, I'm going to shrink yours down. cleaning and cleansing rituals before work.
Enter the temple with the pure heart and clean hands, lest thou defilest the mysteries. I do think cleanliness is essential.
Especially, and spiritual cleanliness.
In every way, shape, or form. Purification rites have always been a part of Alexandrian witchcraft, and it's still practiced today. People don't know that I periodically go through purification rituals when I feel the need to reconnect. You know, it is an essential part of any spiritual practice, I think.
Yep. Okay, next from Alan, the lesser banishing ritual of the Pentagram. I love it.
I love it, and I think if you're going to do the work of the magician, it's the only ritual you'll ever need. You know, I laugh at anyone who claims to be a magician and doesn't do that ritual.
It's so good.
It's essential.
I like it a lot.
Obviously, I have two versions that I use. I have the traditional version developed by the Golden Dawn, and I have the version that I wrote in my book, which is really, I call it the Salutations of the Sun, because it's based around Ra instead of the Canaanite god. Mm-hmm. So but it's the same mechanics, essentially, working with astral light and those things developed by Elvis Levi and the Golden Dawn. And do you know, most people don't realize, back to the Aleister Crowley thing, that Aleister Crowley thought he was the reincarnation of Elvis Levi. He believed that. Like, that's well documented. He believed he was the reincarnation of Elvis Levi.
Everybody needs a hobby.
So I find it extremely funny that, you know, you get these so-called magicians who I don't like him. I don't like his work. You don't even know anything about being a magician then.
I know.
You know, you're cracking open McGregor Mather's translation of the Key of Solomon, Golden Dawn leader. You're working with Dion Fortune, Golden Dawn. You're working with Aleister Crowley, Golden Dawn. You know, the Rider-Waite tarot deck
Golden
we all
Dawn.
use, Golden Dawn. You can go on and on and on about it. It's just such an essential, powerful ritual. Now, what I think is good about it is it teaches you how to work with astral light. Mm-hmm. It is protective. It is balancing with the elements. It is a place to connect. It's not the way of witchcraft, but a lot of Alexandrians are very fond of it as a side ritual.
Yes. Tina, drugs in witchcraft.
Drugs in witchcraft. Oh.
Love or hate?
Well, I'd have to say hate, because that's such a vast thing. Obviously, if we ever used drugs in our rites, we wouldn't tell you. But I certainly wouldn't want a witchcraft to be associated with drug use. And I think most drugs are not.
Here's what I'll say. I think there is a legitimate place for the use of entheogens and psychedelics and
you
whatever.
You start with love and hate, cheating.
Hate.
You have, yeah.
I hate it, but I will say
How
why.
How could we say we love drugs?
Well, because it's a big thing right now. Like,
how would we say?
There's 1,000 documentaries out there right now about
witches
the future is all ayahuasca.
Yeah.
I actually would say this though. I think there is a valid place for it. I think shamanic practices using entheogens. I think using cannabis in ritual.
I don't want to name names.
Shavites do. And
somebody has an ayahuasca story that I absolutely
love.
Yes, they do. I love
in India.
Story.
But like using cannabis in India by the Shavite gurus and whatever. Like all of this has a valid place. But I do not think most contemporary Western people who are going to come to us and ask to be trained in witchcraft or magic or whatever have the capacity to approach this in a healthy way. I just don't. We have a culture of addiction in this country. I think I just do not think that people are spiritually pure enough, to be honest, to be able to approach this and use it and only use it for that and really have a spiritual experience without hitting danger.
Most mythologies about the practice of witchcraft, or the drugs that are used, well, generally speaking, it's probably to the extent of wine. But sometimes I think hemp and mushrooms have been used by various practitioners in the West. Can't really say what their effectiveness was for those people. But it's, the term drugs and witchcraft, I think anyone who's like obsessed with that probably is just obsessed with drugs.
Agreed. And that's the thing is I actually have a few friends. This is an interesting topic because Elohim said, ayahuasca doesn't create addiction. You're correct. Neither does cannabis technically, but I have met people who are addicted to weed, very much so. And because the word addiction, we've expanded in modern addiction studies beyond chemical addiction. We're also talking about habit at this point. So
I am addicted to cheese.
Beautiful.
Sex.
Any drug can become addictive after a while because it's the habit of using, not chemical addiction, right?
I used to be addicted to chocolate, but it's too fattening.
Are you okay?
Oh, I'm a Taurus.
You are. You're going down.
Taurians are notoriously
Pisces too.
hedonists. hedonists. We're hedonists.
But no, I think that I think like Karen mentioned, they're using, ketamine and psilocybin mushrooms and whatever to deal with depression. They are. But do we really think that we could give ketamine to the masses outside of that medically strict environment they're using it to treat? It's actually Louisiana's where they're doing one of the biggest studies on ketamine at LSU in Baton Rouge.
Or I don't know that I know what
it's either Special K, the party drug.
That puts holes in your brain. You know that, right?
But they are using it to treat massive depression.
They also used to do lobotomies for depression.
They did.
Don't think that our science is so up to date that we won't be looking back at it in years to come going, what the hell
were we thinking? Doing? Yeah. But I think that
do no harm is supposed to be the first rule in healing. And if that puts holes in your brain, I don't know that it's...
I have a mixed feeling about the drugs and witchcraft, guys.
It sounds like clinical lobotomy to me.
I just think that I do think there's a place for it. I really do. But I think if you look at the cultures that are using, like the ayahuasca rituals in South America, or the like I said, the use of cannabis in India, in the Shaivite traditions that use it or whatever, this is powerful stuff and it's very, very amazing. But I don't think most Western minds can do it. I don't.
How do you feel about witches who give themselves the title of Lord or Lady?
This is mean because...
Did I ask you a nice question?
Some of my elders did it, so how do I say hate even if I hate it?
You have to pick one.
I hate it. I'm so sorry.
He's not very committed to this process.
I'm so sorry. I hate it, even though I hate saying that because there are elders in Initiatory Craft that did it. So, but
a California line.
I hate it. I hate it. Lord, whatever, Lady, whatever. I just can't. I cannot.
Lord and Lady douchebag.
I don't say that.
So the only person in the world who I'm okay with that title is Lady Rhea.
Yes.
And it's not because
100%.
To me it has nothing to do with witchcraft. It's just she's Lady Rhea. It's like her name or something.
I know. I love it.
It doesn't bother me when she does it, and that's fine. And I realize she's doing it from her lineage because I do believe it comes from. I think it comes from Monique Wilson. I think that Buckland brought that over from her probably. Because she was known as Lady Owen.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And no other initiatory craft people do that in Britain.
Yeah.
Eleanor Raybone doesn't do it. Doreen Valiente didn't do it. Patricia Crawford doesn't do it. I might call my high priestess, like Christine, I might say to her, my lady, in a respectful, nice way. But I would never call her lady, whatever. Because it's weird, and it reminds me of cosplay, so I absolutely hate it.
Same.
But people in certain lines do it, and then it got picked up by neo-Wicca and general paganism, and then lots of people were doing it. Now you've got solitary practitioners calling themselves
Lord, Pendragon,
ladies,
Ravenswing.
I hate
Dragon Killer.
I hate it a lot.
Always something like that.
Anyway, your turn.
Oh, good Lord. I'm going to take Rodriguez Mystic's question for mine. Taking the name of a deity as your personal magical name. Hate. Hate. As a matter of fact, we don't do that in Alexandrian Craft. We are specifically trained not to.
We have magical names, but it's never the name of a deity.
Because what happens if somebody invokes that deity by name or is using that name? And I think it just shows... Let me go back a little. I think what it shows when people do that is they don't understand the purpose of a magical name. Like the purpose of a magical name is to help develop the higher guardian angel, the higher guardian self, the higher self. It's to create this magical persona that is fed, that is elevated through theurgic rites or whatever, and is kept secret on some level. And it's also like there's folklore around it. Like it's like comes from the Fae too. You can't curse me because my name's not really Levi anymore.
We probably should talk about the Fae and cursing.
I know, right? But you can't curse me, right? Like if you don't know my name, you don't know my real name, it's like a Rumpelstiltskin kind of fairy tale sort of thing.
Yes.
And so if somebody's constantly saying a god's name or a goddess's name in circle, that's just going to screw with the whole purpose of having one.
I know that one of our priestesses, Ellie Barnes, she's got a problem with the goddess Diana. Not a problem with the goddess Diana, but it's hard for her to connect with the goddess Diana because it's her mother's name.
Yeah.
She's like, that's my mom's name, and so that's what conjures in her brain, so I think it does that to you. Yes, we don't, I think it's extremely taboo, and I don't think anyone in ancient cultures would have done that.
They like had versions of it.
Yes.
You know what I mean? They would change it.
Small little pieces that might link them to it, but not literally the same name. You know
and
there's
people
a reason
do
why
it.
Zeus wasn't a Greek name for boys.
And it's different in other cultures. Like, for example,
Maybe it should
in
be.
India, they name themselves, they do take God's names as names. In India, they do that. Padma Lakshmi is famous. She's on...
We're talking about witchcraft today.
Exactly. So, like, in our tradition, though, the reason I bring it up is because in our tradition, we're doing something different with the
Levi
name.
doesn't want to be white, just so you all know.
That's not a thing. Yeah, Light of Diana has
Kind of true for
perfect...
me, actually. I I don't know what I wanted to be. First of all, I always wanted a mocha tan.
What is happening?
It's never going to happen.
I can't let this happen.
I will never have a mocha tan. I've tried tanny beds, the real sun, chemicals, whatever. Nope. I'm just white. I'm like this.
Sweetheart. No, Light of Diana has a perfect example. The name Isidorus, which was a popular name in the ancient world.
I'd walk around naked all
I'm just going to ignore this. I'm not letting it happen. Yes, Light of Diana. Isidorus is a great example.
Like the moon. Look at me.
It means gift of Isis in Greek.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, Isidorus. That's what the name means.
Isidorus.
Isidorus. Right? And it became the modern name, female name Isidora, right? But gift of Isis is what it means from Isodoros. Give you one?
Yes.
Okay.
He didn't prepare.
I did, first of all.
That's why his aren't naughty.
A lot of mine have already been asked. I had a great one. Aliens in occult practice.
Oh, hate it. I don't even know how that's a question.
It's a thing, first of all.
I mean,
people talk about it a lot.
I believe that there is life outside of Earth. I think that's... I don't know if I believe they're visiting. I'm not obsessed with them. I wish they were. I wish that they would come and take me away in their mothership. Please. I'm not obsessed with aliens or anything, but I'm not I do believe that they exist somewhere. Mm-hmm. And they probably have a religion too. Wouldn't it be awesome if the aliens came and they're like, we are the children of the goddess?
I know, right? I would be so happy.
Worships the goddess.
We would be on our way to that planet.
We just came for the hidden children. The rest of you can die.
Oh my God, yes.
Ooh, fantasy. That could be a book.
It could be.
Anyway, but no, it has nothing to do with witchcraft. It doesn't. In fact,
agreed.
There's actually a weird rumor that...
That's why I brought this up.
There's a weird rumor that Alexandrians, I remember very early on, Christian, believed.
This is why I brought this up.
He believed that Alexandrian witchcraft had something to do with aliens. He's like, don't you believe in aliens? Because there's a book called the Book of Planets, which some people like to say is the third or fourth book or something like that. It's not. It's a magical astrology thing. That's all it is.
But
it's makes sense, right?
People
Book of Planets
us with aliens.
It's an magical astrology system. It has, planetary magic system. It has nothing to do with aliens or.
I, for one, welcome our new alien.
Perhaps, Alex. I think that man that he was dating, the original
Taylor.
The original Renfield, Derek Taylor. I think he might have been obsessed with aliens, and I think that Alex pulled his legs sometimes. But I don't,
I did have a good one because I knew you would tie it back in. See, look at me preparing.
Being so brilliant. Mm-hmm. How can I manipulate Brian into saying something smart
about Alexandrian tradition and alien worship?
He knows I'm off my rocker today. That's part of it.
He's crazy, children.
I am.
Okay, you asked me one.
The demons.
The demons.
Oh, I had to skip some. Here's a good one. Every witch writes their own book of shadows.
That's not a thing. The Book of Shadows is a historical document. However,
you have to play the rules.
Hate. However, I will add, Gerald Gardner did say...
Slaps and butters.
Gerald Gardner did say, point blank in one of his letters, it's just documented, when he wrote about the Book of the Art Magical, he said, this is my book, and you will add to it as you go. So, but it's very important to remember, he said add. He did not say completely rewrite. He did not say completely change.
Which has been done.
Which has been done. So I hate the idea that a Book of Shadows is just a thing that you do on your own. Everybody should have a magical journal. Everyone should have, their own personal practice that they keep up with, that they write about, that they create.
Definitely want to do that.
But yeah, no. Oh, me too. But no, I'm not. I'm not a fan of that. I'm going to give Brian one of these that he wants, which is stangs.
Okay, so number one, I wrote about it in my book. So you can read about it in Initiation Witchcraft. It's actually a tool that I discuss. So the word staying comes from Robert Cochrane. We don't know how he came up with it. We don't know if he made it up or whatever. There is a Norse word for a staff, stong. He could have just been mispronouncing that. No proof that it's a forked branch, but it was a magical staff. Forked branches, however, are the traditional tool for baling hay in merry old England. You know, the original hay fork was a two-pronged staff, and I believe that that's what you're getting in the woodcuts, just like you have witches flying on brooms. It's another domestic tool, a little bit more male because it's associated with farming a little bit.
So
right?
much.
But I think it's another domestic tool being ridden on, and I think that's probably it. However, in Ireland and Wales, there are fabulous walking staffs that are quite common that have two prongs as well, which could harken back to possibly what the original Druid staff is. We don't really know. But it's just a staff with a forked branch, right? And it's been used in the craft unimportantly. And, Patricia Crowther writes about it in some of her books. I have a stang. I've had a couple versions. I actually had a priestess I used to work with, not Alexandrian, who claimed fork, up around the summer solstice, like an offering, and they did actually. But it was a common thing, people, etc. Some people will take Pentagram. It's very modern, and it was something about him. The only practice up from letters he wrote. There's some small tie-in there as well, or that Doreen called a stang.
No, and that term, that obsessive use. Agreed.
It's not one of the real witchcraft tools.
Okay. I'm going to take one. Let me look. Okay, I'm going to give an easy one. Cursing the moon or fae, the thing that's going on TikTok and whatever. That's the easy one. Hate it. It's stupid. We shouldn't even be talking about it. I cannot believe that we are feeding this bullshit. Like this nonsense. Like, we've just got to stop. Like, at some point, something can be so ridiculous that it does not deserve a place in the conversation.
I haven't addressed
it. It does not deserve
I hate it. I haven't addressed it on any of my social media because it
doesn't deserve
literally isn't worthy of a response.
Turn your backs, children. Turn your backs.
It's not worthy of a response.
Do not participate. It's like a child screaming for attention.
Let me curse the sun.
Garters, yeah.
Kind of a hard one.
I know.
I'm going to have to say I love it. And that's a hard decision because I love it because it's a part of our mythology, and there is the term witch queen does exist in the craft. Garters are particularly Gardnerian. We don't use them in Alexandrian craft, but that comes from the myth of the Order of the Garter, Christian symbol at one point in time. So witch queens exist. Every high priestess is given the title of witch queen in her second and third degree initiation. It's a ritual title. Do I like the system that has developed in America surrounding witch queens? No, I think it's rubbish. I don't think it's craft. I think it's control, ego, unnecessary, and I think it hurts have you ever heard of this group called the Shakers?
Yep.
They've gone extinct. Can you tell us why?
They didn't breed.
They weren't allowed to have children.
Yep.
That was their whole rule. They weren't allowed to have children. So what you get with the systems of queen is a way to make initiation even more difficult. So you've got a line that's basically hurting itself by limiting its ability to propagate. I think that's probably, I think that it'll either evolve because of their connections with British craft, or it will eventually go the way of the Shakers because it's just not something that's going to appeal to people. I like the matriarchal side of it, don't get me wrong. I like that, but I'm a real believer in balance. Mm-hmm. So I don't think the answer to imbalance is ever creating, temporarily it makes sense to create an extreme opposite. But if you maintain that in some sort of rigid, strict sense, eventually, if it succeeded, would end up being the same curse in a different direction. I wouldn't want to be in a religion that was just a goddess. Like, I wouldn't want that.
No, you need both.
It would, to me, become probably as corrupt as Christianity has. eventually. And it would do the same things. You'd have women having more rights, you'd have men having less rights. It'd be the same power hierarchy working itself out in a different direction. Right now, obviously, because there's so much D in the world, it's harmless. But as my own personal spiritual philosophy, I have a mother and a father in the gods, just like I had a mother and father on earth. Regardless of my relationships with them, I needed it to exist. And that's something nature put forward for us, and I think there's a lot of apology going on right now about nature. And I'm not going to apologize for Mother Nature. Take it up with her.
So I'm going to take one from
Sorry,
Stacy.
I kind of went on a tangent.
You're good. God bless. I just checked out. It's fine. I just spoke to God for a little while. She's mad at you. So I'm going to take one from Stacy because it's very popular right now. Love or hate the term, baby witch. I hate it. And I'm going to tell you why I hate it, because I just hate the term. I think it's stupid. I think it's infantilizing. And the reason is because I don't just see children using it like teenagers on TikTok. I see like 36-year-old women on Facebook like, I'm a baby witch. Ma'am, have a word with yourself. That's so infantilizing.
Or new witch.
Yeah, it's so stupid. And the thing that's stupid about it is this. It's like, you're not serious. Would you walk into any other religion and say that? Nobody's walking into the synagogue as a convert going, I'm a baby Jew. No, no. Or you're not a baby.
That was my favorite thing you ever said.
You're not a baby Christian when you get baptized.
I don't know.
It's just gross.
Because to these people, this isn't a religion.
Exactly, it's a hobby. You've told me all I need to know about you when you call yourself a baby witch.
No, I hate it as well. It's just one of those things I don't even feel the need to address.
I just can't.
Levi, Instagram witches.
Instagram witches. I can't answer that. I can't though, because I'm on Instagram. You're on Instagram. We're Instagram witches.
Are we?
We are though.
But real witches.
Your nipples are out on Instagram on the daily.
That's happened twice.
Twice. Look at him. It's just the twice. So I can't say I hate him. I hate him. But I am one. So I hate myself. That's what I've come here to say today. I hate myself. No, I hate it, but I am also it. So I can't hate it too bad.
I hate it, and I am also it. But let me explain why, since you're not capable.
You hateful person.
It's too aesthetic. I don't think witchcraft can be communicated in simply aesthetics.
No.
And Instagram is completely aesthetic.
Everybody's laughing at baby Jew. I'm so sorry.
I hate it because it's portraying witchcraft as purely an aesthetic. You can't talk to people on Instagram, really. So you're just portraying it as an image. Instagram is the most narcissistic social media platform there is. Really, it is, I think. Don't know what you're...
I'll touch you later. But
why would you do that?
I'm sorry.
Why can't you show me now?
I can't.
You're afraid I'll get weird that they're watching?
No, I interrupted you. What were you saying?
Well, is there an initiate on here?
Yes.
Oh. Do we know him?
Mm-hmm, we do.
Are you sure?
100%, I promise.
Okay. I couldn't tell from the picture. Is that from Portugal?
Yes.
Oh, yes. Hello, blessed be.
That's a Portuguese flag.
I don't remember his name being Jose.
Jose. Because in Portuguese, the J is not an H. That's Spanish.
Oh.
Okay. I'll take one from Jeremy. Christian witches. I can't say love or hate because I would literally say that's a nonsense. I don't think that's a thing. I think...
You have to play by
the rules. Hate.
He's been literally trying to break the rules the entire
hate. I hate the term Christian witch because I think it's foolish. If you're a Christian, you don't believe in what you can be a Christian magical practitioner, you can use magic, but witchcraft was there is no such thing in history of that word ever being used. It just has no foundation in reality. The whole point of witchcraft was that it was anti-Christian. It is born in a Christian world. The term witchcraft is propagated in a Christian world, and it is virulently opposed to it in a very deep spiritual way. So I think it's silly.
The problem with the term Christian witch is the reason why Levi and I are not going to embrace it ever is because witchcraft is its own religion. So
yeah,
why would we be absorbed by the religion of the
oppressor
Nazarene?
To the last of your
so if you've given yourself to Jesus Christ and that's your go-to and your bailiwick, well, we have not. We've given ourselves to the goddess. So I suppose you could pick up Scott Cunningham's book and replace the names with Jesus and Mary and call yourself a Christian witch. But really all you're doing is making up something. You're working magic and trying to make yourself feel okay about it. It has nothing to do with our belief system.
It also shows me that you don't take your Christianity seriously.
It also shows me you don't respect my religion.
Or Christianity.
Yeah.
Like, I have a deep respect for Christian theology and a deep interest in it, and it isn't opposed
spirituality and magic. I think that there's a historical perspective of that, and I think you could explore that. I think you could be a mystic Christian and bring that back. If you're devoted to Christianity and you want to work magic, there are historical examples of this. You'd have to do some reconstruction, but they do exist. And in fact, most of the grimoires are Judeo-Christian in origin. Angelic magic, for example. Plenty of avenues you can go. Witchcraft is about worshipping the goddess of the moon and being initiated into a mystery cult, and the horned god of death and resurrection. It has a lot of layers to it, and it has its own belief system. None of its belief system includes you must accept Jesus Christ as your personal Lord and Savior.
No.
And if you do not accept Jesus Christ as your personal Lord,
you might be like Christian adjacent. You might like Jesus and think he's a cool dude.
Resonated with that. My problem is if there's any possibility that he was. So if you're functioning and believing as a witch and saying you're a satanic Christian, I hate it.
I just don't like. I don't like. Sure, I guess in the strictest. In the loosest, I mean,
they wanted to it wasn't coming from God; it was coming from.
We have a statue of it in our city.
Those were the choices, but it was a political maneuver. My point in bringing that up is that these two things are contrary to each other,
and they always were. Yeah,
So
I also think, and I hate to say this, but most Christian witches I've met are people who still basically. I've met very few exceptions to this, but the vast majority of people I've met who identify as Christian witches are basically just holding on to a fear. About giving up their Christian heritage or their Christian path, past an inability to go beyond it, a fear of hell or a fear of disconnecting from something that was once important to them.
This just needs to be answered because it's just too specific. So Tina is saying, and I'll give it to you first.
Sure.
She's saying, witchcraft is not a religion, it's a practice.
She's saying both. She's saying, which one do we believe?
I'm throwing it to you in the game.
Here's what I'll say. Well, I hate that, but know why.
Yeah.
The word witchcraft was not used as a self-identifier, as a religious. Nobody was calling themselves like part of witchcraft. That we know of for a very long time. And if they were doing it, it was very small groups and very secretive until Gerald Gardner and the contemporary witchcraft revival of England. This is just a historical fact. It was not a very widespread thing. In the eyes of the people who helped create the contemporary witchcraft revival, it is a religion. In the eyes of Gardner, Valiente, the Sanders, Lois Bourne, all the elders, it is a religion. Also, what I would say is historically, witchcraft is religious. Even if you want to argue with me about it being a religion, that's fine. But historically, it was religious. There was no concept in the witchcraft trial records, in the Sabbat literature, in the canons episcopi or whatever. There's nothing about some sort of secular witchcraft that was disconnected from religious belief. It does not exist. So even if you don't believe it's a religion, it is religious.
So if you buy into the fact that there's a lot of evidence that said that Gerald Gardner was working this sort of craft in some way, or at least had the mindset of it in the 1930s, because there's proof of it. High Magic Aid was written in the 1930s. The Goddess Arrive was written before that. Mm-hmm. And if you look at his public works that were published, it really shows his mindset was already craft. It was there. It may have not been fully formulated. Whether it was his own invention or whether it was coming from other people or both, it was there. So if you're looking at that, the line of succession for the modern religion of witchcraft that some people would like to call Wicca is now working on being 100 years old. It's 2020. Do the math. So we have religions like Scientology that aren't that old.
Yeah.
So it really does have a long-lasting occult legacy at this point. It does have a line of succession. It is a valid religion. It is recognized by many governments in the world as a recognized religion. So regardless of the debates or the priesthoods involved or how it was originally portrayed, the United States government recognizes witchcraft as a religion. So does the UK, so do a lot of other European places in the world. So by that virtue alone, it's a religion. Number one. Number two, it was put forward by Gerald Gardner as a religion, and it is practiced as a religion with a priesthood by thousands of people today.
Yep.
A living tradition that, as I just stated, might have a pedigree of maybe just 100 years. Maybe just.
Yeah.
If not more. So
yeah, it's religious.
As what Levi was saying, historically speaking, and I've talked about this a lot, is that, the crime of witchcraft with the church was not magic. The crime of witchcraft was about getting your power from something else, whether it was the goddess Diana, whether it was the queen of Elflame and the fairies, or whether it was the devil himself, or some other nefarious
besides
being.
Jesus.
The biggest thing in all trial records was that they were making a pact with the devil, or they were making a pact with some other power, and that's where their power came from. The church was concerned with where their power was coming from and who their allegiance was to. It was considered heresy, and heresy was a crime of being not a part of the church and having a different religious system, which is why Jews were considered heretics as well. It's why Protestants at one point in time were considered heretics, because the belief system was different. So historically speaking, the church said witchcraft had a belief system outside of the church.
Yeah.
It was not a crime of magic. People were not set on fire because they made a puppet. Yes, sometimes these became parts of the trial, but the crime always came down to the man in black or the devil or the
yes, it always came down to something
whoever
religious.
It was going to be.
Witchcraft was always historically linked with the crime. Like it was put in the same category as the crimes of like heresy.
So, and here's the other thing I'm going to say that I love to color onto this. The craft does have its own system of magic. Initiatory craft does have its own system of magic. So if there is a practice in modern witchcraft that's witchcraft, it's something the initiates are doing. Other magical systems come from other things. Ooh, I've got one for you. I'm a Santeria witch.
You're giving me that?
I'm giving you that.
I don't ever hear that.
It's too dangerous in my head. I've heard it.
I've never heard it.
I've heard it a lot.
I don't think anyone would call, like, who worships the Orishas would call themselves a witch. Oh, by the way.
That's the best sidestep ever.
I know, your info. But no, I hate that because I think it's disrespectful to both traditions, first of all. I mean, they don't call what they do brujeria in Spanish. Brujeria is a separate thing than Santeria in
I have met people
Cuba.
Who claim that they...
So I hate it. And if you're doing that, I don't think you have a good knowledge of either of those words. I don't know anyone. I know a lot of people initiated into Santeria and a couple people in, Haitian voodoo and all these other religions. They never, ever call themselves witches when they're actual initiates of those religions.
Yeah.
Ever. So
what if it was in your family?
Yeah, it's not a thing. There's no such thing as non-initiatory Santeria like in Cuba. Like Cuba, like you can practice the religion, but if you're going to be initiated, let me rephrase that because I'll be called out for being wrong.
Alive for being a heretic.
You can people like not everybody in a Santeria worship service or a Haitian voodoo worship service is initiated. That's true, but those are initiatory systems, is what I'm saying. So yeah, I hate it.
My turn.
I think it's silly.
Give me one.
Oh, I got to give you one.
I have to keep him on track.
This track,
is what it was
people.
like training him.
No, it wasn't. I wasn't excellent. I was amazing. I was amazing.
Not as good as Sinalias.
I could say something, but
hey, he can beat you up.
He could very easily. Anyone could, to be honest, though. Anyone could.
I love you, Ronaldo. I should be if you're still watching.
So mean to me. Why are you mean to me?
I don't know. I think I'm bored.
Why are you mean to me?
Go.
What have I done?
Do you remember when I called you and said I've called to make you feel bad about yourself?
You did.
And you were like, why?
I know. I got a phone call from Brian one time and the whole freaking conversation just starts. No hello. Nothing. It's just, hi, I've called to make you feel bad about yourself.
I don't remember what it was about.
I don't either, but I'm sure it did make me feel bad. And I was an excellent student. How dare you?
He was very good. There was a lot of corruption that needed to take place, however.
I was too. Was I pure?
He was that Carol from, I can't remember her name now.
Who?
The blonde girl from the Munster.
Lily Munster.
Who's
Carol Munster? I was Carol
Karen
Munster.
Carol. Karen Munster.
I was Lily Munster a little bit. I was a little pure.
He was.
I was very churchy.
We would take pictures and it would be like everyone in black. Levi would be wearing a pink shirt.
I was a different creature then, and we don't need to ever bring it up again.
Do you like your new picture on the Coven page?
I don't remember which one. Oh, it's the one from here, yeah.
Well, Christian's like, as long as he was, taking out the trash, he had to.
I know.
He had to give you the skinny picture.
Uh-huh. So Tina has a good one I'll give you. Eclectic, the term eclectic, like eclectic witch.
Well, I have
It's
to
tricky,
say
yeah.
I have to say I hate it, but it's become such a part of our vocabularies. Now, the thing I hate about it is the fact that all witches are eclectic. I say witchcraft is a scavenger religion. I don't think it's an ethnic faith. I think we steal everyone's best bits. Until it becomes socially unacceptable, of course.
There's a great line in the show Mom where she goes, "It's called cultural appropriation, Marjorie. We're all supposed to be doing it." Because she just gets it wrong. We're all supposed to be doing it.
It's acceptable as long as you keep it in the lines of, Celtic, British, European, Greek, Roman, Egyptian. It's all fine. Go anywhere else beyond that on the planet.
And then you get weird.
Then you get in trouble.
You get in trouble.
You're not Native American. Sorry, I burn sage. I used to.
I don't.
Anyway.
Ooh.
I'll take that one.
Yeah, I'll give it to you in a minute.
I love Laurie Cabot.
Marilyn was the cousin. Thank you for correcting me, Amanda, not Lily.
Yes, Marilyn. I knew.
Yeah,
you were
Marilyn
wrong.
Munster. I was wrong.
Yes.
It's Marilyn. Lily's the mom.
Yes.
Yeah, Marilyn
Christian
Munster.
used to say that to me sometimes. If you want to be the Marilyn.
Hateful.
But, yeah.
Maybe he just meant Marilyn Monroe because you're
No,
slightly
that's not what he
psychotic and it won't end well.
I'm going to be
Because the Kennedy will kill you.
You're going to be dead in the pool.
Yeah, we're just going to find a Kennedy's
going to
murder you.
I'm going to die in that pool, right?
God.
Like that's probably what's going to happen. I love Laurie Cabot. She's actually, I'd say she's a friend of mine. I wouldn't say, we're not besties. Christian's closer to her than I am, but she's a very magical person. I've spent many hours in her home. I first learned about Laurie Cabot from Power of the Witch. I read that book, and there's an exercise in there called the Crystal Countdown about how to reach alpha state. Even though it's not my way of working now, it is an effective shift of consciousness that worked for me very young, and I actually used to teach that in my very first coven. So there's a bit of Cabot in me. Then I married someone on the dark fringe of Cabot society.
Dark fringe.
That's something I told Christian. He was the dark fringe of Cabot society, because he is any witch who lives in Salem, regardless of the tradition. All the Gardnerians, all the Alexandrians, any of them that lived there studied Laurie Cabot at one point in time. Like, I know this for a fact. They all went to her classes. They all got a bit of that Cabot thing. It's part of the culture there. Like Athens is Athena's, Salem is Laurie Cabot's. We should have a statue in a Parthenon of her. I think she's a very magical person. I think she's extremely beneficial. I hate to say this, but I was listening to Jason Mankey and Thor Mooney's episode because I was going to go on his show. Mm-hmm. And I didn't get a chance to bring this up last night, so I'll trash talk now, and I love you both, blessed be. But they were talking about who the most influential witches in America were.
Yeah.
Definitely didn't agree with their opinions. And
naturally.
I thought of Laurie Cabot because I thought she was on Oprah.
I know, right?
They were literally picking what you guys did. Sorry, you picked who you wished were the most.
Yes.
They picked elders in their upline. Theos and Phoenix, and so they were the most influential.
But it's
I'm like, she was on Oprah.
It's like 100. I love how Christian. It's like they didn't include me.
No. They picked Theos and Phoenix, and they picked people from their line. So for them personally, they were coming from a place which we do a lot.
Yeah.
I don't think any guardian outside of Raymond Buckland. I don't think any Gardnerians or Alexandrians in the past were that influential in America, witchcraft, quite frankly.
Yeah,
She
Laurie
was on
Cabot
Oprah.
was massively.
Can we just keep going to that? She was on Oprah.
She was on Oprah.
No other witch was on Oprah. Okay, so let's just say that.
Yeah.
So I don't practice the way that Laurie Cabot practices, but I do not find her brand of witchcraft offensive.
No, not at all.
Which is actually means a great deal coming from me.
Yes, it does. Brian's a snob and a terrible person. So.
I think she's very magical, and I think she's created her own priesthood that's not connected to ours, but may stand the test of time. I don't know yet.
Yeah, there's tons of them.
But I think that she is worldly influential. And some people just don't like to admit. I often notice with these pagan, who's the most influential authors, or it's the people they wished were.
Yeah, but it's people that nobody in America knows who.
Like if you
outside of the pagan community, they don't know them.
Influential witch in America, and I said Maxine Sanders or Alex Sanders. That's wish fulfillment.
I wish, yeah. I wish.
At one point in time, they were worldly influential, yes, but now, I think that it's not. I don't think it's initiates. And that's one of the reasons why I'm glad that Thorne Mooney and Jason Menke and myself and you are writing books, because I think the initiates need to reclaim that so that they can be influential.
That's a DLE.
But I don't, initiates aren't the most influential right now. And I'm probably one of the most influential initiates because I have stores and festivals and a book now. But that's small potatoes compared on being on Oprah.
Oprah. He just keeps going back to Oprah, like some sort of mantra.
If you're talking about witchcraft on Oprah, you're pretty much influencing the world about witchcraft, aren't you?
It's all about Oprah.
It is Oprah. Come on.
I'm okay.
Oprah.
God bless you.
Done with that, though. Sorry, Jason.
God bless.
Sorry, Thorne. I know you want
No,
to
I agree with Brian here. I think, but I'm guilty of this, where I'll talk about the influential witches that I love, and then I'll realize that like 6 people read their books in 1962, and I'm like, okay, maybe it was just me.
None of those early pioneer books were as successful as mine probably is.
It's just because of timing,
they
too.
They weren't a thing then,
Okay, so I'll give you a couple of other ones because we've had a couple comments. The phrase, there is no devil in the craft. Love or hate, Brian?
Is that a phrase?
You know how people always like, the really, okay, I'll say it like this. The rabid, like, anti-devil.
I'll have to say I love it. And the reason why I love it is because all of our elders, I'm trying to get away from saying elders, saying all of the pioneers of the priesthood.
On the Oregon Trail of Witchcraft.
They absolutely taught the world that we don't worship the devil. And people predating them, including Reginald Scott and Margaret Murray, were teaching people that the idea of the devil and witchcraft was probably an older god. We have our own god. And so I love it because we don't worship the devil in the Christian sense. I realize there's an egregore of the devil that's, the devil of the witch trials has nothing to do with the Bible. Like, you can read all that stuff. He's offering power, there's sex, there's all these things. He's not,
Sounds like Coven.
it's not really like, he's not acting, other than wanting your soul, I suppose. He's not
Still sounds like Coven.
acting like anything in the Bible, right? Nor does the Bible say anything about the devil running around stealing people's souls one by one while he gives them magical powers. Like, it's just not, to me it harkens back to being initiated into the cult of a god or a goddess that would teach you magic, something that had pre-existed Christianity. So witches do not worship the devil, nor do they worship Satan. However, I am keenly aware and wrote about the devil in my book because I do think there is a devil within the ethers of witchcraft that has nothing to do with the devil of the Bible.
Agreed.
But I have to say I love it because overall I think the world doesn't need to be confused right now. 99.9% of the world knows nothing about witchcraft and assumes we're either made up or we worship the devil.
Yep.
Most Christians think we worship the devil, and if the red hat Trump supporters were to have their way, Christianity, fundamentalist Christianity, would be a state religion and they would burn us and hang us. I absolutely believe that.
I long for my moment on the pyre. I'd give a great speech, I feel.
I don't want to be burned.
Be very intense.
Horrible,
you know what I mean?
Feeling.
I'd have my whole Balenciaga moment from Coven.
Flesh melting off.
You know what I love about being Alexandrian so much?
Weird. I had that question too.
I know. You know what I love about being Alexandrian is you can give that beautiful speech and we can talk about all of our elders not doing that. And then I can find a video on YouTube of Alex doing a Luciferian mass.
Well,
no, I know. It's just funny. He was such a bad boy. I kind of love it.
That it's taken out of context. He was doing a show that never came to light.
Oh, I know it wasn't real.
So they had asked him, will you show us what a black mass is? Will you show us what a dark magician does? And as Maxine says for the cameras, he was happy to oblige.
See, I love that though. I love that we have that little naughtiness.
No. He did talk in the Alexandrian lectures. He sort of made a threat that sort of sounds like something Christian would say. He said, well, I could just bring the devil back then if you all are going to have a problem with me.
Yeah, but I mean, to be fair, Alex was not a devil worshiper because he has there's an interview he does.
He loves the goddess.
He did. There's an interview he does in a magazine. I can't remember the last time I saw it posted, but he has a quote where he just goes, they ask him about Satanism and he goes, oh, Satanists are just silly. It's a sort of funny moment in his history.
My first teacher said they were pissed off Christians.
Yeah, I like the image of the witch's devil, but I don't worship Satan at all.
Levi, witchcraft is a praxis.
I don't know what that means. Like, I hate that phrase. Witchcraft is just a practice. Witchcraft is a practice. What do you mean? What does that even mean? Like, witchcraft has no historical praxis. That doesn't work. Well, I love how you're touching it.
It just didn't work.
There's no such thing in history as a group of practices that were strictly 100% labeled as witchcraft. It's not true. There was folk magic. There was occult practices. There was hermetic, writings. It just is not a thing, guys. And so this nonsense of Wicca is a religion and witchcraft's a practice. It has no basis in etymology. It has no basis in history. It's just a thing that people started saying online. It's like saying, I just don't understand it. I hate it. I think it's foolish. I will never understand the point of that conversation.
That conversation I hate it. And that conversation came up for me for the first time in a group of initiates who were trying to defend the reason why they belonged to 20 other different traditions.
Yep, because it's orthopraxy.
And so basically they were saying, well, they were basically saying, I don't have to believe in any of this as long as I do the rituals correctly. Mm-hmm. And I imagine they don't have much power. In fact, the golden boy of that whole thing is apparently now Christian. That's what I've heard recently. He gave himself up to Jesus.
May the Lord be with us all.
After being in every witchcraft tradition and
every ATR and also true. Yeah.
I suppose he's now, I don't know if he's still gay. I would assume so, but he's Christian now. I heard. I don't know if that's really true. I love it though.
I would love
Carrie
that to be true.
The
Please,
night,
God, let that be
and
true.
Her laughter was just so delightful.
Please let that be true.
Carrie,
I want it to be true so bad. God, let him just be like Lutheran. Like a pitiful Lutheran. Like not even a good form. Just
Alex, when somebody says they're Wiccan and not a witch, I know they're not either.
Exactly. Agreed.
We just will bypass that one.
For those watching who don't see it, Alex made the comment when somebody says they're Wiccan, but I'm Wiccan, but not a witch. What does that even mean?
All witches. Wait, what is it? What am I saying? Not all Wiccans are witches, but not all witches are Wiccans. And it's just really...
Yeah, etymologically, you're saying not all witches are witches, but all witches are witches.
Yeah, I hate it so much. And first of all, get the chip off your shoulder, because what you're really saying is, I'm a witch and I'm not an initiate. Well, just say that then.
Yeah, just say that.
You don't need to go on about why you're a witch. If you're claiming you're a witch and you're not an initiate, we don't care where you got it from. Just say that.
Does she know something I don't know? It looks ominous, doesn't it? It just looks like, does she know something I don't know?
I think that Tracy, we don't know what your question was in regards to.
Yeah, I love.
But it just says, Levi, how do you feel?
Yeah, just in the middle of all these comments,
I don't know.
It just says, how do I feel? How do you feel?
And I'm like, I feel?
Do you know something I don't know?
You need to check in now.
Am I okay?
My therapist says, check in.
Check in with yourself. If I check in with myself, it's just screaming. Like if you just look inward, it's just this constant, unending banshee wail into the dark. And I'm just like, I'm going to quit checking in because it's not good.
I prefer being detached from my emotions.
Same.
I do think emotions are a bit of a weakness. I think that
wow. Jesus. So the therapy's not working at all.
She knows this about me. I've told her.
That's called sociopathy, Brian.
I think they need to be corralled correctly.
You sound not.
I'm
worried about you now. Okay,
if my emotions ran rampant.
Oh, we'd all be dead.
Yes,
oh my God.
It would not be a good thing.
It would not be good.
No.
Could you imagine Brian with actual human emotions? Oh my God. People would die.
It would be not good. Christian's the only one that knows and that's why he says, people don't know what you are really like. I'm like, that's because you're married to me.
It's true.
They don't have to deal with everything about me, just like I have to deal with everything about you, right?
Am I supposed to give you one now?
No,
you give me one.
No, it's your turn, I think.
No, it's not.
Yes, it was, because I did...
no, you didn't. I took a question on here, remember? Just give me one.
Which is for Trump.
I hate. Gross. Ew. No, I don't even care. That's so beyond. It's so beyond. I'm sorry, but it's beyond politics at this point. I do not care about your politics. It's a moral question at this point. Children are in cages. You're a horrible person. Like,
grab them by the goddess.
Yeah, you're a grab them. Get out. How dare you blaspheme our blessed mother?
I couldn't say the real one.
I will not. Okay, I have to give you one now.
Do you know that Christian was going to vote for Trump in the very early beginning because he said he wanted to be entertained? And then he learned. Then he learned what he actually believed, and it turned very quickly to panic. But yeah, we're all being entertained. That's for sure.
Are you not entertained?
I wish I could do a good Trump impersonation.
I can't.
Everyone watches me. I've got good ratings.
Yeah, I'm the best. Could you imagine Donald Trump as a witch?
The best.
Could you imagine him? I'm the.
When I do Dark Some Night, it's like
it was
no one else has ever done Dark
It was a beautiful
Some Night.
Initiation. It was the best initiation. No one's ever been initiated the way I was initiated.
My coven's just.
Many people came to the initiation. You can see pictures. It's fake news that it was a small initiation. Everybody, my initiation was the biggest initiation. It'd be awful. It'd be terrible. Do I have to give you one now?
It's all fake news. It's all Gardnerian.
It's all Gardnerian. The Gardnerians are fake news. That would be
the Democrats.
The Democrats are fake news, yeah. Okay.
It's all the
I know all the best magic. All my spells are the best spells.
Okay, let's move on from this.
Because we could go down a rabbit hole.
I've done this.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Did I miss something? No. Okay. So,
Christian, there's no swearing online.
Yeah, it's very bad.
It's very bad. It's very Gardnerian.
Okay.
I had one person, Caroline Kenner, defend me. Oh, sorry.
Brian.
Why am I reading that?
I didn't know what you were reading. I didn't see it.
So, Levi.
Sure, give me one, because I obviously did not prepare as well as Brian did.
He never does. People posting pictures of their altars on social media.
Okay. Altars, love. Anything else, hate. I'm fine with altar pictures. I think they're beautiful. I love that. Devotional pictures of like things you've done for the gods or whatever. But I despise pictures of spell work. I despise pictures because I think that's foolish. I think, spell work should be kept secret until it's finished. To know, to will, to dare, to keep silent. So if it's altar pictures, love that.
Maybe
if it's anything else, hate.
Note, something on it.
Yeah, so no.
I hate all of it. I think once in a great while, if somebody does a very tasteful, nice witchcraft photo, fine. I was really reticent actually to even put a picture of the temple in my book, and the only reason I did it was because I wanted to show people how Alexandrian, I wanted to give them the image of Alexandrian witchcraft. I wanted them to see it as pristine, but it's very personal to me. I don't allow non-initiates into that room, let alone have it be something
or his
gay.
Personal life. I mean, really.
I definitely, that has been said. But I don't have any friends that are not initiated into something. So I guess all my friends are initiates, but they're not all initiated into Alexandrian witchcraft. So I definitely think it's, I often wonder if it's really an altar or if they just put it together for a picture.
I will say I sometimes think that too. I'm like, do you work that altar? Do you worship at that? Like, is that a thing?
I think, honestly, that a lot of the social media stuff is either about fame or money, because let's call a spade a spade. A lot of people who do social media are very interested in trying to be famous through it, whether they monetize it or not. That's sort of the goal. I think that they're trying to connect with other human beings, and it's their way of saying, "Ooh, look what I do and how cool I am," and they can maybe start a conversation up with somebody else who's equally sad.
Wow!
But I don't know any initiates. I don't know any initiates of relevance who would do something like that.
No, I'm not, a simple altar picture I like, but if you're showing your inner workings,
once in a while,
once in a while, not all the time.
Now, if they're trying to make money, obviously that's why they're doing it.
Well, yeah, sure.
And they don't know how to make... If you want to know how to make money in the craft, talk to me or my husband.
Damn.
We don't need pictures of our little home altars, or begging notes.
These are truths.
And, I'll tell you right now, Christian gives everyone really good, honest business advice. And 98% of people don't take it, and 98% of people remain poor. So I took it.
You're not wrong.
You take it.
I do take it.
You don't need it,
but I take it because it's like.
Why wouldn't
Why would you not take it from the source, people?
Yes,
you're listening to people who don't have any money. I'm always shocked by that.
We're literally probably the only people in the world who've made as much money as we have off the occult, which makes people hate us, obviously, because it sounds like we're using the occult for money. But no, we actually run retail businesses that function like retail, all the things that go in. If we were selling pants, it'd be the same mechanics. Right? So our religion...
That was shade, Christian. It was absolutely shade.
And our beliefs are not something we're selling. We don't sell Alexandrian craft. We don't sell our sacred rituals. We actually do believe in our religion. But, if you want a little statue of Sekhmet, we'll sell that to you too. It probably came from, Egypt in our stores, most places China. I'm
going to say something here to defend this whole system too, because it's something that I've come up with. People have asked me, aren't you affiliated with a store that sells witchcraft? And I get upset because I'm like, first of all, I often get attacked by people who charge for classes in their tradition. And I'm like, well, we're forbidden to do that. Brian's never asked me for a dime. As a matter of fact, I've been treated way differently because and been treated in special ways or whatever because of the opportunities that's been afforded to me through this shop or whatever. So it's funny because I've actually made money or whatever because of being able to read or traveling or whatever, or gifts. And it's funny because I did not have to pay for any training, and then I'm being accused of cheapening or dealing with money or whatever in the craft by people who go to traditions where they chuck out hundreds to thousands of dollars for their training. So it's ironic, it's so ironic that they're barking at me about how could you be with the people who care about money? And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. You mean your teachers that are literally wringing the dollars out of you? Mine don't do that.
No, because it would corrupt.
It would corrupt the craft.
It would corrupt. Very early on, my very first, when I was a baby witch. Sorry, I'm going to make fun of myself later on this episode. There was one occult store in Washington. It was called the Open Door Bookstore, and I think for many people this was the case. Your original occult or New Age shops, those were like our churches. It was the only place you could meet people of like mind. They had your products. You met people who talked to people. You loved the people who work in the store. Occult shops are vitally important. They are more important to the magical communities than any of the festivals or Facebook.
They've always been
groups going on because it's your local hub, And in a place like Salem or New Orleans, we actually have a lot. But witchcraft stores in New Orleans, actually, there are only a few. That are witchcraft, I think obviously our two stores, Hex and Omen here. There's a shop called Esoterica, and then I'm going to lump Ronaldo into this, even though it's Crescent City Conjure. He's a witch, and I'm sure that there's some witchcraft stuff there, and things get promoted there, even though he does a lot of, focusing on the conjure hoodoo sort of thing. But he is a witch, and he owns a shop. So it's all of those sorts of things. These are important hubs for people. They mean something to people. They did to me.
They do.
I didn't want to go to Hastings to buy my witchcraft books. I did eventually, but these are very vitally important parts of our community, and they are retail establishments. They're there to make money. They're not selling their religion. They're selling items that other companies will be selling anyway. If you weren't getting it from them, you're going to get it from Amazon, or you're going to get it from, Hastings.
Yeah, you're not going to support a magical business. You're going to support a major company.
And the great thing about magical businesses is, or one of the things Christian and I do is, we're not only supporting people who read and magical practitioners who try to make their magical business their way of life. So the vendors we buy from,
artisans, craft people,
we're supporting their work, and we have a lot of really good local ones, readers, and of course all the authors by selling their books or giving them lecturing opportunities. And promoting the real deal. That's something occult stores do that other people don't do. We try really hard to promote the real deal. We don't want to have your magical experience be some fake author, you know.
Yeah.
There's books out there right now that are selling really great that are by authors that don't even exist. You know, those $1.99 Jason was talking about it the other day.
Yeah, it's very bizarre. Like, there's an entire world of it on Amazon.
That's cultural appropriation. And
it's called cultural appropriation, Marjorie. We're all supposed to be doing it. Give me another one from your list. You have a list. Let's just...
You aren't even giving me any.
But you can... You've answered all of them, though, first of all.
Starhawk.
I would like to phone a friend. I would like to phone a friend. I would like to poll.
You asked me.
I would like to poll the audience. So what was the other one?
Love or hate?
No, what was the other one? I'm not going to say I hate a person. That's okay, a person.
Her book. What was that book? The Spiral Dance. The Spiral
Dance. Is a person.
It's a book. Spiral Dance.
That is a person.
We're doing authors next week. How are you going to get through that if you can't do one now? Because we're actually literally going to be talking about people.
Okay, I have to say this. I'm sorry. She's a feminist icon. She's done a lot for a lot of people. She's an elder in the reclaiming tradition. But if I had to go solely by what was written, I hate it. It's just not my kind of witchcraft. I'm sorry.
Levi's so judgmental.
It's just not my thing. I'm sorry.
I think she's a nice lady.
You do. Oh my God. Throw me under the bus.
So in my original hometown of God's Blind Spot, Spokane, Washington, Starhawk actually stayed there once. So weirdly enough, I've never met the woman, but we've got some sort of weird cross line going on there. Her book is not my idea of witchcraft. You know, I don't think what she practices is my idea of witchcraft. Obviously, within Alexandrian Gardnerian tradition, we require both male and females to be active in a coven. So here you have a caste of priestesses that does not use men. So to me, it's a priestesshood. It's certainly a priestesshood of the mother goddess, but it's not witchcraft. And when I read her books, not only were the rituals horrible, you know, she uses some really strange wording. It's just not my cup of tea. So I'd have to say I hate it. I hate it being associated with witchcraft because I think it should be just like I am with the Minoan Brotherhood and Sisterhood. It's not that I don't respect what they do. They are gay mystery cults, but I don't consider it witchcraft, you know, because they aren't working in any praxis that has anything to do with the witchcraft that Gardner introduced, you know, 100 years ago. So... I love saying that 100 years ago because it's true.
You're just going to start. That's his new thing. A Century of Witchcraft by Brian Cain.
It's true, and people forget that much time has passed.
Yeah, no, you're right. Okay. Am I supposed to give you one now?
You should do something with yourself.
People have been saying that to me for years. Yes, you should do something with yourself because God knows and nobody else knows what to do with it.
To you? Huh? Was your mother nice? Were you raised with "You're so perfect, my perfect son," or were you criticized?
My mother loves me. Like I am a mom.
Did your dad criticize you?
No, I was a golden child. I'm an only child, so.
How did you turn out the way you did?
Wow! Oh my God!
Because you seem like a legitimately nice person.
I was. Oh my God!
Like I am jaded, you know. I was had a horrible father and a wonderful mother, but I was criticized a lot. So by my
I was praised a lot, but I was kind of.
I was the middle child, you know. I was never the middle child never gets praised. I do think I was my mother's favorite, and I don't feel bad saying that because my brother's wife says
it's valid.
My older brother's wife is like, "Yeah, you are." It's like kind of obvious, like it's like really obvious.
Yeah.
In front of her husband, who's my older brother, you know. It's pretty acknowledged I'm my mother's favorite.
See, this woman knows something about my life she's not telling me.
No.
Something is wrong with me. No, I was an only child.
That's going to be my new thing. Just ask Tracy.
I know, right? Tracy, do you know something about me I don't know? Am I okay? What do the cards say? Okay. Breaking down magic into white and black. Love or hate?
Hate.
Okay.
Hate. It was a terminology that existed. So in a sense, I hate saying I hate it because I don't like it when people take something that's an established thing that everyone knows what it means and then pretend like it doesn't mean that. It's like, if I say I practice black magic, you all know what I'm saying.
Yes.
So let's not pretend we don't know
that it's not a thing historically too.
But I don't like it in the sense that it has a lot of first of all, it has racist connotations because we associate Caucasians and African Americans with being black and white. And I've actually heard that some people have said black magic is magic black people do.
Yeah.
Like that's been a term.
It's a racist thing sometimes.
So I don't like it. It's nothing to do with witchcraft because I suppose, and Patricia Crowther said this once, she said it on the radio and I get what she was saying. She said, we're white witches. There's no such thing as black witch. We're white witches. And I, saying that on Jason Mackey's show the other night, in a certain context, I will use the word pagan because I know my audience. And I'm not going to, if I was on a public television show for, MTV or the Travel Channel, I might say we're white witches because everyone knows what that means.
Because, I agree with there's a power behind it. I see, there's people making comments about like all magic is neutral, all is gray.
Well, that's not what we're talking about, are we?
And that's a very modern phrase.
When you're talking about being working black magic, white magic, you're talking about working
baneful or
positive or negative magic. Yeah. Christian doesn't like that because he takes it to the Lord Cabot science thing. But yes, baneful or are you blessing or you are harming? One to grow, one to rot. Blessing the field versus withering the field, healing versus cursing the milk. Are you using your magic to harm is what they're really saying.
Yes.
And all initiatory magical systems in the West teach you it's a bad idea to go down the path of the black magician. I'm going to take this a step further. I think it's a bad idea to go down the path of being a bad person. So whether or not you're, going to be a doctor or a murderer is the same question of whether you're going to do this or that. But I think the term is now outdated, but we all know what it means. It's kind of like the word warlock. Like nobody on this green earth hears the word warlock and doesn't realize it means a male witch. What context that came from or how you feel about it may then pile on to that, but initially, you know what they're saying.
Also, I'm sorry, I have to speak historically here for a second. This idea that historically magic was neither black nor white or light or good, that's a modern thing. No, it's not. Literally, the term black magic is a very, very old term. Yeah. It was in Latin, it's called nigromantia or nigromancy. I know that sounds like a terrible racist term, but it's Nigromancy. That term literally translates to black magic. That's what it means. And it was conflated with the term necromancy, which means magic of the dead, but they were two totally separate terms. It's what most witches were accused of doing in the witchcraft trials. It's what the Latin actually says.
It's what the dictionary says.
It's so black magic is a very, very old term. So this concept of all magic is gray and it depends on the, on the situation. No, we all know what we mean by it. Brian is exactly right. I hate this concept of what do you mean by that? You know what I mean by it. Don't play coy. It's so silly. You know exactly what you mean by that. You mean harmful, cruel, vicious,
is it considered
destructive.
Has it fallen out of favor as a way of speaking? Yes. It's fallen out of favor quite some time ago. It's fallen out of favor. Most occultists and practitioners don't talk that way anymore. But when I first got in the occult, it was very common.
Yeah, and also, we know what we mean by saying that we work with the light or that we work with white witchcraft. Even if we don't like that term anymore and we don't use it as much anymore, we know what we mean. And it doesn't mean fluffy bunny stuff. It just literally means it's a path of elevation, a theurgic ritual path. It is what it is.
If you think light is all fluffy bunny, then you don't know anything about radiation.
Very true. Very, very good point, Ryan. So I have one I like. Lillian mentions when books say that at the end of rituals to dismiss the elements or dismiss the gods.
For a second, I thought Jeremy was saying, I hate gay something.
No, gray. I agree, Lillian. I hate that too.
Magic is not, doesn't have a neutrality. That's a correct thing. It's how you use it. But the term white magic and black magic is defining how someone uses it.
Yeah, exactly.
Or that's what it was meant. Now people say positive or negative.
Ooh, I like this one. Rodriguez Mystic says, having a familiar. Love, but only if you mean it in the way it actually meant historically. A familiar spirit was not an animal. It was not a pet. A familiar spirit was
the shape of an animal.
Exactly. So in witchcraft folklore and in modern practice even, I see it more as the affiliation with specific familiar spirits, a term that is used in witchcraft liturgy or whatever. I think that I don't like the concept of this is my cat. My cat's my familiar. I hate that. No, it's not.
I hate it because no initiatory witch really does it.
No. Your cat is not a familiar.
I had an idea once about familiar spirits, and it's any spirit you're familiar with.
That's exactly what it means. That's what it literally means.
Any spirit you're having a relationship with. So what it was teaching us about the craft at that time within church records and whatever is that this witch, once again, was contacting powers or having relationships with powers outside of the church. Whether it was the devil, the demon, a god, or a goddess, or whatever was taking the form of whatever weird animal there was, that's where that myth came out of. And if you look at pre-Christianity, the gods were often said to take the forms of animals.
Or the good demons, right?
Yes.
The good demons, or the Numina. The Numina, the Lares in Rome.
In the West, when you see, and I know retarded witches to this day is like, witches did work with demons. Look at this picture, written within Christianity. They were fairies. The fae
and all that.
Take a harpy. Yeah, it becomes a demon really easy.
My familiar spirit is Laura Branigan.
Do you know what I hate more than anything?
You're welcome.
People that should know better.
Carlisle.
That's what I hate.
Belinda Carlisle and Laura Branigan. I speak to them on the regular. They teach me many things. I am too young to make that reference. I don't know why it came to my mind.
Give me one.
Give you one?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Make something up.
Make something up.
We'll do a question.
I was gonna do one from here, but I like what In League with the Devil said.
Go
oh my God! Right.
Let's do theirs.
My cat Nibbles takes an interest in the altar, so they're my familiar. Yeah, I hate that. Okay.
I totally work with both unicorns and dragons.
Same.
So I don't know what your problem is, Alex.
Same. I see them regularly.
I love riding the unicorn horn.
That I'm uncomfortable now. That went a place that I don't want to go.
Dragons.
Okay.
I totally would be Daenerys when she goes crazy with the bells. I think that's the truth.
Would be.
I am he says. Absolutely certain.
Like, would be, he says to me.
If I could blow people up while drinking wine, I would do it every day. From a tower. Don't say, could you not see that I would do that as a hobby? If I could
as a hobby, she says to me.
And watch people I don't like getting blown up with green fire while drinking the wine.
As a hobby,
and you would talk to me while I was doing it and enjoy every minute of it.
I wouldn't say it publicly, though.
Because you're the midget in that show.
Don't say that word. Little person.
Dwarf.
No, little person.
Well, what are they called now?
Little person.
That sounds more demeaning.
But that's the right term.
Who says who?
They do. They have groups. And it's very... I'm trying to be respectful.
Well, in any case, the little guy...
Yeah, even Karen agrees with me. Would be. Okay, girl. No, I would be. I would not be him because he drinks too much.
How could I get away with blowing up things here?
I would be Melisandre in that show. I would be a lunatic in a red dress, just talking about God to strangers, and then just losing my mind.
No, because you don't really drink.
I don't drink. I'm not him.
But it is your personality.
Either that or I'd be the eunuch.
God, you are the eunuch.
The spider. But he hates magic. Also, can we stop talking about Game of Thrones? Because it disappeared from the social consciousness. That show was so terrible in the last season, and nobody speaks of it now. It's like that which must not be named.
Yeah, they killed itself.
Okay, so we're nearing the...
Vertically challenged.
Stop.
Is that your name for midget people?
Stop saying that, Brian. It is not a good term.
He doesn't let me say anything.
No, I'm trying to use good terms. Don't.
I am not socially... Brian. I'm not saying it. I'm not socially politically correct on...
But there are limits.
Here's the whole thing. Those people hate me anyway.
Okay, but we're not... You know what? Let's move on. You
know why? Because I have cleavage.
Brian. No, we're getting tacky. I don't approve. Okay.
Stop talking about
Game of Thrones. I know it needs to die. It's not a thing anymore.
It did die.
It did. We're nearing the. Give me. You had the
Cersei
list.
will live forever.
What's one
through me?
Give me one off your list that you really wanted to get to.
I totally would have sex with my brother if he was attractive.
To make wow. Oh my God, Brian. Brian, no, honey.
It's Egyptian. That's what Egyptians do. You marry your brother.
We're not in Egypt.
I've been there.
I feel like I feel like you need to talk to your therapist about this. What's something from your list
She probably watches the show.
really wanted to get to that we didn't?
Well, I didn't really
Because we're nearing the end. What's something funny?
You're acting like I had an agenda.
He did have an agenda. He absolutely had one.
My spirit guide is a wolf.
White people are not allowed to have spirit guides.
I totally stole that from Thorne Mooney's.
White people are not allowed to have spirit guides. You're just allowed to have Harry Potter houses. Accept it. Accept it. It's just our reality. Either that or if you're really creepy, you can have a fursona. That's it.
How do you feel about totems in Western?
It's not a thing. Having a connection with a particular animal that teaches you something or has a spiritual thing, yeah, but stay away from the vocabulary. It's not yours. Yeah, everybody's laughing about your weird Egyptian comments. Just so you know, you went way too far. That's creepy.
They love it.
Can I say something really vulgar?
What?
Trixie Mattel has a joke on her show with Katya where she says, they say being gay is genetic, but I don't know why I can never get my brother to nut. Which is awful. I'm not proud of knowing that quote. I'm so sorry. This show has went to a terrible place.
Yes, you remembered it. I do think I'm going to watch this later and think, what
did we do? What happened?
I definitely am a little bit off the cuff today, I think.
I do too.
You're agreeing with me. You're like, yeah,
you're crazy, honey. You're crazy. So we are nearing the end. I'm excited about our next show. Brian and I were talking about it earlier.
Oh, you're going to hate it.
I know, because I like being nervous.
We're going to do our next episode, episode 11, is going to be on witchcraft authors.
Yes.
So we're going to be giving a critique of not just their books, but them.
Wow, Brian! I love how Brian's like, it's everybody else on earth is like, I don't want to critique the person, just the work. And Brian's like, so we're going to critique the person.
I don't think you can do that in witchcraft because here's the whole thing. I think credentials matter, and so we're going to talk about people who have been. We're going to pick books that have been influential,
okay,
and then talk about what we think about those books, how they had positive, negative effects. You know, we're not just going to be cruel for the sake of being cruel. And we're going to also not, we're not going to just worship people for the sake of worshiping them,
Lord Brannigan.
I'll save that for the episode because I think that's actually going to be very interesting.
I do think it's going to be a good episode, and because one of the biggest things.
Yes, we aren't going to say something that's going to piss somebody off or hurt feelings because I'm going to give my honest critique, but. We get that all the time with
But books, I like that we're doing it because one of the main questions you guys ask a lot is in the comments is what should we read or what next or what historical works were really important.
Don't just go on about all these books. No one knows what they are. We're going to talk
so
about
mean
witchcraft
to me.
books because he's all like, Pericles from the 4th century in Greece. Y'all read it, right?
First of all, I'm sorry.
In the original translation, I mean, I know we've all read it, right?
We've all read it. We've all read it.
I got actually an email from a gentleman who is I've been corresponding with for about a year now, I think. And he's Alexandrian, and he is also a teacher who watches this show. But he knew everything you were talking about, but he was the only one.
It's just the one.
I'm like, it's
me and the one other person who reads
the names.
Really weird 4th century.
I think it's good that we should all be exposed, and I've done my best to, I'll be honest with you. Your shirts are the cause.
It's
Sinking sexy smart ass shirts. You guys are. What is she even talking about?
How you know what, Ryan? She's fabulous. Blessed be Ellie.
I love Ellie. She gave me a reading in Delphi and told me I was going to win. Sounded like the same reading.
Did you?
I'm not done yet. It sounded like the same reading that another blonde man may have gotten there.
Another gay blonde man.
Yeah. You're going to win, Brian. No, she said other creepy things that I can't say on the air.
I know. Trust me, I've had readings by Ellie. They're always right. They're always right.
She didn't know, though.
Ellie is that oracle. Ellie, I'm going to say this about you. I hope you love it. You
Mm.
are that oracle in the movie that gives that reading, and then later the person realizes they misinterpreted it, but it was all true, and they're just at the end, and they were like, the white rabbit did come, and they're just crying, and they're just like, I just didn't understand.
The most powerful psychics I have ever known, and I think I'm guilty of this sometimes myself, which is a very narcissistic thing to say, is that the prophecies are unknown to them.
Or accidental.
Yes, it just comes out, and, if I want to reading, I'll just have a conversation with Ellie, And,
true.
You know, she is very psychic. So is Christine. I am. But I keep a check on it because I don't actually like it.
Yeah, it's an issue sometimes.
But my mother, Brian Cain's big claim to being a hereditary witch.
He's a hereditary
witch. My grandmother from Sweden read playing cards every day. And she was supposedly really psychic and really good at it. Obviously, I never met her. But she read them religiously. My mother thinks she picked it up in San Francisco. We don't know. Because she loved San Francisco. And my mother spent her entire life between Spokane, Washington, and San Francisco because her mother constantly wanted to move back to San Francisco. Her mother died very young and was a bit crazy, but she was extremely psychic. And both my aunt and my mother have the gift, I guess you could say.
The gift.
No, they really do.
I believe that.
My mother was like that not knowing person.
Mm-hmm.
And she did it to a lot of people.
It's like oracular.
Creeped people out sometimes.
Yeah.
And she had no idea she was doing it.
They never do.
You're
going to die in
And
this
she
house.
saw, my mother saw spirits. But it was never a thing.
Yeah.
Now, my aunt was a bit more conscious of it and can kind of make it manifest a little bit. I don't know that it runs in the blood, because as you know, I don't believe in ethnic faiths, but I think sometimes when you're around something, it just keeps going. If you're around someone that has that sort of... I do believe some people... I don't believe you're born a witch.
That's why I got meaner the more I knew you.
I do believe that people have an aptitude for magic or psychic abilities sometimes. Mm-hmm. I think anyone can learn it, but I think just like some people are naturally good at poetry or naturally good at math or whatever it's going to be, I do believe in that sort of child prodigy thing. Some people just have that inner genius that manifests and people notice. Levi's like,
I don't. I'm sorry.
Mozart, come on, people.
Mozart was ruthlessly trained as a child by his father. Read The Myth of Ability. It's a famous book.
Some people do have natural gifts, though.
They don't. Anybody who looks at me and goes, I want to talk about my gifts, I'm like, are you talking about the goiters that you're going to get when you're older?
Naturally better at sports, or naturally better at art, or naturally better...
Very rarely. I think most of it has to do with repetition, practice, things like that. Read The Myth of Ability, people.
Well, in any case, I am somewhere in the middle. I think people do have a natural... Oprah Winfrey once did a show.
Oh my God. What is Tonight at Oprah?
And it was about your inner genius, that everyone has a natural inner genius. And you have to discover what your inner genius is. Now, his problem is he's too smart for his own good. So he thinks that's... He's worked hard for it.
I have.
Maybe.
Wow. Okay.
Maybe. I worked hard at becoming a very wealthy, prominent witch, too. Sure.
I guess. I don't know.
Or did I have a natural aptitude for it? I don't know.
Okay.
Levi's like, and we're done now.
No, we are nearing the end. It has been wonderful.
Yes, next week we're going to do, it's going to be way better than this show because it's going to be about authors and all the people we love and hate, and not them personally, sometimes, however. But, usually, honestly, I will say this. One of the things that I have done in my journey was have my illusion shattered. When you first start reading books by witches when you're younger, it's like every author is sort of a hero.
Yep, 100%.
And then I started meeting these people. And
that'll kill it dead.
A lot of them were extremely disappointed. And I started getting the insights. One of the dark sides of doing business in the witchcraft world is you get to see the real side of some of these people.
You see how the sausage is made.
And it's sometimes, they're competitive. They're jealous, they're political, there is a dark side to it. But then again, there are those people who do it for purely spiritual reasons, and those are the people I love. The reason I love Thorne Mooney and Jason Mankey so much is because Thorne has a career like you do. She's not writing books because she needs the money or she wants to make it her career. She's doing it and she's creating her content because it's a passion for her, much like I do. I could just sit at home. I don't need to talk to any of you. I'm not making money doing this. I could sit at home and cloister myself away and never practice witchcraft my entire life and just be fabulously rich.
Wow.
It's not...
Goals.
It's not what's going on, right? I'm not doing it for money. They're not doing it for money. Jason, I'm going to be a bit mean to Jason. Jason does make it his full-time career, but his wife is very wealthy. So technically speaking, they don't need his money. He's doing it because he loves doing it. And I'm not trying to castrate him there.
No,
but
it's fine.
His wife is extremely successful, and technically speaking, they don't need his money. So he's doing it because he loves doing it, and I think that those are the best drivers and contributors.
Absolutely,
and
because it's passion.
But there are some people who do it for ego and just money. A lot of people actually. So it's disappointing occasionally.
But that is what we will be tackling next week. It'll be our 11th.
Might be digging a few people up from the grave.
We might be. It'll be our 11th episode, and then we'll think of a good one for the finale.
Yes, I don't know what we're going to do for 12. It's going
to be great, though.
Should we have everyone from the Coven on there or something like that? Just interview them.
And we just sing the song from Cheers.
Yes, it's
because everyone knows our name.
Everyone. Yeah.
Okay.
No, you want a place where everyone knows your name.
That's valid.
That's the song. I don't remember the song.
It's been a wonderful night, guys.
Thank you
so much.
Thank you so much. We will definitely be thinking about what episode 12 will be like, and we're really actually brainstorming about
for season 3.
So feedback that you guys could give us. I mean, should we start doing guest shows because it will make it less about us? Should we keep doing what we're doing? Is it different subjects? I don't know. I felt like we kind of might need to change things up if we're going to do another 12 episodes. But maybe we don't.
I think we should just do craft tutorials.
Maybe we should do the whole things naked.
No, absolutely not.
It could be called Season 3 Skyclad.
Not a chance.
It would just be our nipples.
I'm not doing this, Brian.
We wouldn't have to be naked down here because they can't see it anyway.
We're
not wearing pants.
I'm going to go. Bye, guys. It's been wonderful. Anyway. Have a great evening.